get you for that. Where did that come from?
As regular viewers may know, there are two things I'm rather fond of, and that's Warhammer games and aviation. Dakka Squadron combines these two things in a formula that would be hard to mess up. So when it was announced that Dakka Squadron was coming to the Switch, I decided to postpone sinking into Unicorn Overlord for a bit and take to the skies. And you know what? That's on me. What's Dakka Squadron like? Load the whole 9 yards, prep those countermeasures, and do your pre-flight checks as we review Warhammer 40k Dakka Squadron on the Nintendo Switch. Before we take to the skies, would you mind doing some pre-flight checks and making sure the like and subscribe button work? It's the best way creators like me get found on YouTube, and I can't thank you enough for doing so. In Dakka Squadron, the story plays out that you're an orc enlisting to be a flyboy with the ultimate goal of becoming a war boss. Most of the exposition is told by a 2D cutout of your general, and the voice acting is rather good, and the dialogue is well written. You will complete missions to progress to new planets with varied biomes and fight all manner of factions in the Warhammer 40k universe. Along the way, you'll be able to change and upgrade your fighter by adding more weapons and features, as well as painting it to give it your own personal flair. A Warhammer game with Top Gun vibes seems like a winning combination, especially when it's focused on the more outlandish species of the Warhammer universe. Unfortunately, right from when you load it up, you are greeted with a heavily pixelated studio logos. It's like you have a missile lock and it's almost time to punch out. There's a lengthy load into the menu screen, and there's even a loading screen to load the loading screen when going into missions. The menu is navigated by moving a slow-moving cursor over the text that is most of the time far too small and pixelated to be legible for anyone with less than 20/20 vision. It all seems like a hastily slapped together package with minimal to no care or thought put into it. Things continue to fall apart faster than a hastily bolted together Dakka when flying into the gameplay. Graphically, the game runs at an incredibly low resolution, featuring some of the worst pixelation ever seen grace the screen of my Nintendo Switch, and I'm so confused because the game still struggles to maintain 30 frames a second, despite looking like something out of the Nintendo 64 era. The texture resolutions are horrendous, the models are low detailed, and the environments are dull and devoid of much detail at all. And the special effects and explosions are simply a muddled mess. The developer has said a patch is underway to improve visual fidelity, but from what I've seen from the new patch footage, it's not going to fix the core of these problems, and mainly offers a minor anti-aliasing boost to smooth out some of the rougher edges. I did hope that a newer environment would breathe some life into the game, yet that somehow managed to make the game look and perform even worse, shuddering the frame rate despite the jagged and low detailed models of my surroundings. The flight model also handles incredibly poor, and for some reason the camera lurches forward with every move you make, zooming in and out constantly instead of staying in a fixed position. This bug does seem to be absent from the PC version. Now, I understand that this is no Microsoft flight sim, but instead of adopting a smooth arcade flying like Rogue Squadron or Lilat Wars, it's just a clunky affair that makes it hard to enjoy. You can do instant air U-turns, but instead of playing a cool animation, the camera just violently snaps in the other direction. Or you can clumsily barrel roll despite there being almost no real reason to do so. There's also a lot of bugs such as getting caught on invisible objects, or allied and enemy fighters simply just bouncing up and down and getting stuck on force fields or level boundaries. Warning noises do persist after finishing a mission if you happen to complete it on low health, and the game seems to have almost zero polish or optimization for the Nintendo Switch architecture. Mission structures don't tend to alter too much and usually consist of killing X amount of jets, destroying X amount of turrets, rinse and repeat. There are some escort missions that don't provide too much excitement, unfortunately, as you tend to simply kill X amount of jets regardless. The biggest challenge for me in this game was fighting the awful flight controls and staying engaged with the terrible graphics and frame rate. The redeeming feature of this game is the voice acting and the exposition, which is wacky and humorous, and it does honour the lore and mannerisms of the Warhammer 40k universe.
Daggit Krasnak has hold up the last of his boys in that ghoul. Send in your squadrons and blast him out of his fortress. Yes, boss. Me boys will take him out. Flyboy, get your air mob ready. On it, boss.
This does tend to wear off while fighting in-game, as the lines are heavily recycled, but do stand out in between missions. For my vision impaired fly boys and fly girls, there are no accessibility options, and I cannot recommend playing Dakka Squadron due to the muddled pixelated text, as well as the incredibly small text size. Even at $30 Australian, the value for money just doesn't add up. There's no multiplayer, and despite being able to play as different factions to go through the campaign, I think only the most of die-hard of fans would want to actually do that. All of this seems a shame, since the PC version of Dakka Squadron seems to be sitting at an okay rating with a firm 7 out of 10 on Metacritic and is very positive on Steam. But as it stands, the Switch version is heresy of the highest order. I know I'm not going to make any friends here with publishers or the PR firms that distribute these games, but frankly, Warhammer Dakka Squadron is not only an insult to Switch owners, but this port is an insult to the Warhammer license. It's a lazy port that should never have been released in its current state, and I don't think a day one or close enough to it patch will solve many of the issues listed in this review. I'm personally so annoyed that I spent $30 on this title, but hopefully that means that you don't have to make the same mistake I did. Dakka Squadron, on Switch it seems, should definitely stay grounded. I award it a 30 out of 100. Thanks so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. The best way you can support me is to like and subscribe and continue watching my content if you enjoy it. But if you do want to go that bit extra, you can buy me a coffee or join our Patreon, which shows you behind the scenes of this channel. Thanks again.